Guys, I'm sick. I'm barely here. How you guys doing?
More than barely here.
Well, that's great. Victoria, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It is very cold outside.
It is very
Oh yeah,
cold
that's
out
true.
there. Thank you, Arctic freeze. I happened to get sick after our Infinity stream, so that was pretty great. I don't know if it was that or the holiday party or just somewhere in between that was great. So Monday, I was starting to feel like really tired. I was like, oh, what's going on? Really sleepy. And then Tuesday was like cold. I thought, oh, I just got a cold. And then was it Wednesday? I think I did a COVID test, and it was 2 strips. I've taken so many COVID tests over the past 3 years. Never
hmm
negative, 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 negative. And then this time, it's like it was as soon as as soon as my saliva or my nose liquids started crossing that strip. It's like, yep, you're good. You got COVID. There it is. So I've been working very hard and trying to avoid COVID, and it finally got me. And it's been really weird because unlike a cold or a fever, because obviously it's different for everyone, but it feels every day it feels different. So the first day I was like, I'll be all right after the end of the day. It'll be a 24, 48 hour thing. Then the next day, it's like the headache starts coming in. It feels like I've got a book, like a 10-pound book on my head. And then the next day, I've started getting congested. And it's just like it's like a buffet of just symptoms of crap.
Hmm.
So once I got that, then I started self-isolating. So it's just me and the critters, and they've been fine. But and of course, this is our last week before we go on vacation. So all the stuff I was planning on getting done did not happen. So been playing a lot of catch up before we go on vacation. It's been great. Victoria, I know you had COVID at
Yes.
a point,
Uh,
right?
So I had COVID, I think, the last time you were recording. And yes, same thing. It was, Friday night. I started getting really tired. Went to bed, woke up at 2 in the morning with an excruciating headache. Um, and yeah, the cold symptoms started happening. And I mean, same as you. I mean, we think we might have had it right before COVID actually hit. Because I got really sick in March of 2020. So
Oh,
the
oh,
timing was really right. Um, but again, maybe. Yeah, finally seeing those 2 strips in there was just, I avoided it all this time. What happened? So,
yeah,
um,
exactly.
and then I don't know if it's just everyone has different symptoms. I got really bad tinnitus for a
Oh,
while, for like days. Could not sleep because my ears were ringing. That was awful. But um, all is good now. I still got a little bit of a lingering cough, but
yeah.
all's good now.
I
So.
I'll have that lingering cough forever because I just
Mhm.
whatever. Kels, have you been able to avoid it?
No, I got it in January.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, and mine was the same way too. It was you're reading the instructions and it's like give it 15 minutes to let you know if you have the results. And mine were like immediate. It's like you got super
Mhm.
COVID. So I was like, dang. Like I was like, I didn't
Oh.
even have to wait. It was like I guess I knew I had yeah. So it was always weird. And I was like waiting after doing all those tests, and it was like, okay, it's taking a lot longer to show red, so I think it's going away. That's good, but
Mm.
yeah. And then mine was very mild, I guess, compared to everybody else. I just had a runny nose, and
Mm-hmm.
I sneezed, and then after 7 days ish, I believe. Um, yeah, yeah, it was like, yeah, it was after like 7 days I lost my smell and taste. So, and then it took like a week to come back.
I've actually been pretty good. I can still smell stuff. I can still taste stuff, but it's like kind of muted.
Mm.
Or at its worst, it seems to have been muted. But I'm hoping over this weekend it'll decline and I'll be okay. So,
Yeah.
I will tell you, brain fog and confusion.
It's so real.
And everything is overwhelming. Like, even just getting this set up from scratch in OBS was incredible. So
Oh, I almost gave my 3-year-old a sippy cup full of hot sauce. So I getcha. I getcha.
that's some wake up sauce right there.
Oh boy. I would have been a bad mom. I caught it right before. I think my husband pointed it out to me and I was like, oh God, that's not juice.
Oh, it's juice. Just the wrong kind.
The wrong kind.
It's got vegetables in there. It's good for you. It's like a V8, but a little more extreme.
A lot.
Speaking of being sick, let's start the show. Hello and welcome to Hot Takes and Streaming Breaks, the bi-weekly pop culture podcast brought to you by 6035 Media. I'm your host, reporter Nick Raven, and joining me virtually and not in the studio because I am self-isolated. Actually, hang on. Look at this. We got technology. Oh, so here's just me. All right. Here's our second person, Kelly Karneski, the guy who's seen way too much stuff. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good. How's it going?
Good. And then we've got Victoria Costantino, our account executive with 6035 Media. How are you doing?
Both of us are probably doing excellent because we were not outside in the cold, so works for me.
I gotta tell you, I actually took the dogs out earlier.
Oh.
And I went shorts, sandals. I was like, man, this is all right. Thankfully, I was only out there for like 60 or 90 seconds because these dogs cannot handle the cold at all. I think I talked about this on Indy 15, something like that. Oh, God, this cold. It's a great reason to stay inside and get sick, I guess. Oh, well. Let's go to the news. I set this part up. You're going to be so proud of me. Hang on. All right, you guys didn't see it, but I did, and that was...
I know. I was like, yeah. I know. I was like, I didn't know you were gonna do this.
Actually, I could hang on. I could sit. Hang on. We could do. Hang on. What do we got?
We need to see your hard work.
No, I don't think I can. The way that it's set. Oh, it's set up by scene. Can I do that? No. Can I do this? There we go.
There we are.
Yeah, that's what it looks like on my side. Hang on. If we do this, let's try the news again. Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah,
now we're all here.
There you go. There you go. I'm gonna switch it back so it doesn't look so heckin' weird. I'm really glad OBS has this control now. I have my Word doc. I'm so glad I have multiple monitors. This makes it so much easier. Number one in the news, I finished Immortality. I don't want to spoil anything, but as soon as I got the credits scene, I let Victoria know, and she's like, I'm so proud of you, yay.
You made it.
I made it. I really was, like, so I was telling you, the last couple seconds, or the last bit of gameplay was me just kind of going through clips, and then just, like, not randomly, but close to randomly, just clicking on stuff. And if you do enough of that, the RNG kicks in, and then eventually it'll unlock a clip that I hadn't gotten. So, then eventually the ending came, and then the credits started rolling, and it was like, oh, okay, all right. I don't think I'm gonna be like digging any deeper. I think I got it all, but
and I'm not sure if you need to get 100% of the clips to finish the game or to trigger the credits, but it doesn't matter, is what I've learned. So it knows when you've seen enough.
It seems like it does, because it's I had a full row, like top to bottom. I didn't have any like orphans or anything, so I assume I got them all, but I don't know. Jacob Geller did a video about it not that long ago, and he was like, yeah, you could enlist an entire book club to try to decipher what's happening in that game and with the story and stuff like that. And I kind of felt the same. I'm like, I'm experiencing this. I'm not going to assign too much meaning to it. I'm not going to interpret too much of it, because there's a lot of stuff. It's kind of vague about a lot of things, and I'm just gonna let that be an experience as it is. So, yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. I enjoyed my time with it.
It's something that is definitely something to experience, and like you said, you kind of have to let go a little bit um, to allow the story to unfold. So even if you have missed something, frankly, if you were doing this with a real life person in a real life story, you would be missing things.
Yeah,
And so I think that actually brings a little more realism into it.
yeah, definitely. You should still check it out, Kels. I think just
I
to
downloaded it. I just haven't played it yet.
it's it the game the part where you play the game is a little
Uh,
weird. um, it's not a hardcore shooter or anything.
The gameplay is a little weird.
Yeah, the game. Yeah,
yeah.
the corollary that I draw there is like Sam Lake and Remedy with those
Mhm.
games. Like they're fun. Like I love the stories that Sam Lake does, but then sometimes I'm playing Alan Wake or whatever, and I'm like, man, I wish I could just watch this. And Immortality is kind of like that. You're watching it unfurl, and you're interacting with it. I mean, it's not unplayable by any means. It's just the play is the reverse mechanic and stuff like that is kind of weird. I never really used.
There's
the
a
frame
reason
by-
it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't. So I wonder then how does the rewind, not the rewind, but how do you detect what sequences have those rewind things without a vibrating motor? Because that's how it was telling
Well,
me.
I mean, on PC, you're going to experience the same thing where you don't have a controller vibration.
Yeah.
And you purely have to go off of the audio cue. So there's that big
Oh, the
sound cue that happens, which is much
Gotcha.
more prominent when you're a PC player than when you're a console player. I definitely think it's better on console because you are in front of a TV to begin with.
yeah.
So if I would make a recommendation, I would say on PC. However, or on console. However, if you play it on PC, my understanding is it has similar controls as to editing video, and anybody that's ever edited video in their lives would be like, "Oh, so cool, so cool." So it's kind of a little bit of balance there. How I figure they do it on Netflix is using just your rewind button on your remote, but
Yeah.
I'm honestly not sure.
That seems to make sense to me, but I just you're right about the stinger about it changing, but yeah, yeah,
It does make a little bit of a different experience for sure.
yeah. It does. I was just thinking about that. I was just feeling the tingle of the. It's like, how does anyone else get to find any of this stuff? So, except for basically the sex scenes, because they're
Yeah.
basically every sex scene is shit. There's a lot of nudity in this game.
There's a lot of nudity. This is a very adult game.
Yeah.
My type of game. Man.
Yeah.
Right up your alley.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You should have told me sooner.
Yeah. Even the warning label that it gives you, because we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, it's just glancing the amount of content in there, because some of the stuff that you were talking about last time, Victoria,
Yes.
it's like it's not even like glancing it's like boom, it's right in your face.
It's not that there's a handful of
It's-
sex scenes that could be inappropriate to some viewers. It's these are raw experiences, and they are portrayed as raw experiences,
Yeah.
whether it's the sex scenes, whether it's the violence scenes, even like emotional trauma scenes. It's all extremely raw. So it's not like going and seeing an R-rated movie that's been carefully crafted and edited. It's not even like seeing a really gritty R movie. Things like, I don't know, Requiem for a Dream is really raw. It's not even like that. It's so this is it. This is
Yeah.
life. So
yeah,
it's-
it's
take it seriously. Take
It's-
that warning seriously.
it's very interesting. So they're potentially triggering stuff, and very gratuitous. So you do have to dig in for some of it. So Kelly, it's not an easy, it's not just sitting there on this. You can't just skim it and it's right there. But
Okay.
it does have its context, and that makes a lot of sense. So Finish that. That's like one of the few games I finished this year. Woo. Number 2, Victoria, you watched The Crown. You're like
Yes.
caught up as far as the releases go.
Right.
On
So
there.
I've been following The Crown since it started. I'm not a big royalty fan. Princess Diana's death was definitely one of my earliest memories. I think it was maybe 6 or 7, something like that. Not to mention being named Victoria. You never not get the reference. It's either royalty or Victoria's Secret. That's all I've got my whole life. So
Right.
I'll go on the royalty side. It is a gorgeous show. It has its problems. I noticed some really glaring editing problems this season. Unless it was just my TV, it looked like they changed exposure mid-shot, and it was very weird.
Okay.
I'll give it the grain of salt that maybe my TV was being weird. I don't know. But all that said, it's shot at all of these locations in Buckingham Palace, all over Great Britain, and it is gorgeous. They take full advantage of every scene that they are in. And the opulence, the grandeur, all of those things. Not to mention this most recent season being about the divorce of Diana and Charles. How close, how accurate they tried to be with the costuming. Of course, it's fictionalized quite a bit, but as far as the costuming and the emotions behind it, this is an excellent show. And I know that it's slow and it's not something that a lot of audiences really care about. But if you have any sort of interest in historical fiction, give this one a shot. I am never cease to be impressed with that show.
It looks very pretty, very, very thought of, and entirely British.
It is. It's it is. There's the stereotype of how, like, I've never seen Downton Abbey, but I know what the stereotype is, and that it's very high and lofty. And of course, that's going to happen in The Crown. It's about the most lofty person in all of Britain. But it is accessible. There are countless historical moments in that show that especially Americans, we don't know about, nor why would we care about it? They work, I think, pretty hard to help you care about it, especially in this past season where it's been things that people our ages would remember, things like Diana's death, the Queen aging. Those are all things that we can know and understand.
I remember the Queen aging.
We experienced that and her passing.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do after her death. Last time I checked, they were still shooting, but that was weeks ago. So it's a really good show, and I wish that more people would give it the chance instead of being so intimidated that it's about royalty and therefore it's this big lofty concept when really it's a family drama.
Yeah. So that's how we could always be royals. You were bringing up royal, and that's all I could think of was the Lord song. is that, and we could be royals. She's from New Zealand though, if I remember right. So
sounds
that's
right.
not the same. You brought up Downton Abbey. And a decade ago, I was really tempted to be like, man, I should really... So Downton Abbey and collectible card games, they were like in the exact same breath of, I should really try one of these out. And then I didn't try either. So it seems like I spared myself. Now, with your I've seen like 5 or 10 minutes of one episode of The Crown. Are you ready? Are you able to tackle modern royal tabloid news because you have
right
this
on
background?
top of it.
Okay.
No. I mean, I do find it interesting about everything that's going on with Harry and Meghan. There's a new documentary that I want to watch because now I am curious, especially at least wrapping up The Crown. Again, it's historical fiction. A lot of what happens in this show did not happen, at least in this manner. Big, warning there. It does make me interested to see how some of those trends that have been happening for the past 80, 90 years are still happening today. The discrimination, the way that the family members just don't agree with each other and how it's more of a system than a family. But at the same time, you don't just not become a family because you're part of a system, and how they balance that. It'll be really interesting to hear the real stories straight from Harry and Meghan. So I find this stuff fascinating. I know a lot of people don't. They're like, who cares about those people across the ocean?
Yeah, that's an entire ocean away.
British folks don't always care, but we don't have fairy tales anymore. I enjoy seeing the last one we got. So
is the British royal family the equivalent of anime but to Britain? Like that's how hardcore you have to be into it.
I feel like you have insulted them. I think what you're trying to get at is maybe not so wrong. It's funny to see something that is just so wildly outside of our expectations. Like, we have the ultra rich in America. We have huge major A-list celebrities. It is not nearly the same as the royal family. It still has to talk about things like budgets, but also have to be important political figures, but also have to be this, that, and the other, more than just your run-of-the-mill A-list celebrity.
Right.
It's just a completely different dynamic. So it's interesting. It's a really good show.
I'll have to look at it.
At least look at the show. It's at least a show for looking at.
Google
it is
the Crown.
Beautiful.
I looked at it. There it is.
Look at some pictures of the Crown.
They have some very opulent jewelry and stuff, although some of that is taken from places that should not be plundered from colonization efforts.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
But it's very pretty.
It doesn't mean it's not beautiful. It's still beautiful.
It's beautiful in an ugly way.
It's beautiful in an ugly way.
There we go.
Exactly.
Kelly, are you up on The Crown? Did you watch Downton Abbey at all?
No.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen even 5 minutes of either one. So.
Oh, that's enough to watch the recap.
There you go.
Actually, if you're starting it out, I guess you wouldn't have the recap. But I do, every time you start a new season of something, or what we'll talk about later is the recap at the beginning of every episode of Andor, where it's telling you about everything that's going on previously. So remember,
I was going to say, do people watch those?
I'm sure some people do.
I did, but I had to go back and rewatch it.
Oh, okay. I always skip them.
Oh, yeah, that's how I was skipping them. Speaking of following the lifestyles of the rich and famous, Elon Musk agrees to stand down as CEO of Twitter after poll results want him gone. Kelly, are you gonna apply, bro? Like, are you gonna apply for?
I thought I had the job already.
Oh, you do? Yeah. I think you do. When did you get on Twitter? Weren't you like just after me, like 2008?
After you?
Yeah, I thought you were after me.
It was 2008, but I thought I was before.
Because that was July 2008.
Now I want to look.
I don't have that account anymore, unfortunately.
All right.
Yeah, I know you're in there too.
If you don't have the account, then you're not.
Yeah, it's been very much an on and off thing. So
September 2008.
Okay. Yeah, so I beat you.
So you did have it before.
Well,
you did, but your account's gone, so
yeah, well, that's how it works. But so he used a poll to get Donald Trump back on the platform, and then he used a poll like, should I still be CEO of Twitter? And everyone's like, it was like 57% or so said no.
Yeah.
And he's like, cool, as soon as I find someone to, be the captain of this.
As soon as he finds someone.
Yeah, suitable replacement.
A suitable replacement. And he's like, I'm going to step back and be in charge of software and servers. I'm going to tell you, if I was CEO of Twitter, I'd be like, get out of here, dude. You're not touching anything. You can be in charge of the water fountain in the lobby. Like, that's about how much responsibility you deserve at this point for how much you've wrecked this place.
I mean, he's still going to control it. That's the problem.
I know that is.
So no matter who steps in as CEO, if he comes in and says, "Hey, it needs to be done like this," guess what? It's going to get done like that. Yeah,
but also you could do the thing where like Steve Jobs, when he came back as CEO of Apple, he's like, he had Larry Ellison in that, and he was able to use that as leverage to be able to tell the entire board to resign and replace it with people who were friendly to Steve Jobs, and it worked because the
But
company
there's no board anymore. It's just a single owner.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So there's nothing like that. So that's what I'm saying. It's not
he's
like
dictator in chief.
yeah,
Kinda.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You
it's a
always-
dictatorship over there.
Can
No
you
matter
imagine he's
who's
just
the
like
CEO.
Can you imagine he's just like lingering over your shoulder? It's like I don't know if I would do that.
No, thank you.
Can you
Yeah.
tweet that? Can you tweet?
Can you change that check mark to just a different shade of blue, please?
Did you see the new blue
They're
logo?
yellow or gold.
Yeah, or maroon.
There's a
Or their
maroon
logo?
one too.
There
Oh
should
God.
be, but that's
A check mark or their logo?
Yes. So there's Twitter Blue. They came out with like a synthwave kind of logo that they simplify for the subscription, but it's like chromed out and it's got the Twitter bird in the counter
Oh, good
of the
grief.
beat. It looks disgusting.
Oh, you're talking about just like okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Yeah, they had a new
The Twitter blue logo.
Yeah. They
Okay.
redid it because obviously Musk is totally up on the memes. I don't think anyone would get mad at me if I went and applied for CEO at Twitter. I think I could honestly take a year of vacation and do a better job than what he's done so far. So
Yes.
I'm still.
I like the confusion of the platform.
You like the
so,
confusion? Yeah. Do you like the newsworthiness of it all?
yeah, I love it. Just
Yeah.
love how everything is so relevant on there, and yeah, it's great.
I haven't been. I don't follow him, so I don't really know.
No.
I'm not keeping up minute to minute, and I still have my.
I'm actually surprised that I don't get more notifications about stuff because I do follow him, but like I don't see some of this stuff. I don't go on social media that often, but
Yeah.
like I get push notifications, and it's usually not from him. It's usually from accounts that I don't even follow. I'm just like, who? What? Why is this push notification?
They
letting me
know you
about
don't want to
this
hear
tweet?
from him.
Yeah.
They don't. They know I don't want to hear from anybody. I guess because they
I
push
guess.
notifications from like people I don't follow, like that I don't even know. And I'm like, why is this relevant to me? So
Yeah.
whatever.
Do you get the notifications? It's like events and things that are happening in the world, and it's just, hey, do you want to read up about the World Cup or whatever?
No, I don't get those. It'll just be a random tweet from somebody that I don't know.
Oh,
It just pops up.
it wants
And
you
it
to
just,
connect,
like,
dude.
I don't know who these people are.
I
And sometimes they'll be
know.
like replying to somebody
wants
that I
you to
don't know
be-
either.
It wants to give you. It wants you to give you a new friend. Like
They're real
notifications.
thoughtful over there.
Right?
There's no one left over there, so they have to think of something. It's
Yeah.
like, oh God, how do we save this business? Let's recommend random tweets to random users, and bam, let's go.
But that was even before. That was like all before. So
They could do it more.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, just amplify that algorithm. I'm weirded out by how granular notifications have become. Like I remember when it was like 2 or 3 things. You know, you're going to get notifications when you get a friend request for something. You get a notification if your name is mentioned, and then you get a notification if like someone replies. And now they have like 20 different things. Like, do you want notifications when you get specials or promotions or stuff like that? And it's like, I have to shut all of that off. And then you have to shut it off, not just push, but email and push as well. It's like, I don't want it in my email box. I don't want it on my app. I don't want to get a toast every time that a space has gone live, even though he just killed spaces. He totally canceled that account that was following his private jet, even though he said he wouldn't, on this vague threat that was not substantiated in any way, that someone been using his private jet tracker to make threats to him. Something along that
he also
line.
canceled suspended other accounts that were promoting other websites besides Twitter.
Yeah, he was
Yep.
canceling journalists' accounts and stuff like that who are like following him. Like any excuse to just like get rid of his naysayers on this platform that he bought for $44 billion. He's never going to get that money back.
Oh no.
Never, ever. Whatever. You know what we are getting back, though? Segue to our final news item here. They're making a sequel to 1996's Twister. It's called Twisters. It's being...
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh at that. but it is funny.
It's like when you go to Taco Bell and it's like, Mom, I want some of the twisters, and they're like, what? Oh, okay, the cinnamon twisters, or whatever they're actually called.
I think they just twist.
Do they?
It's very much aliens vibe,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's like a compliment.
Yeah, there's multiple twist. Like, they could have so
Or-
many cows now whipped up in the air. Like, cow again. Yeah. It's being directed by. There's like no details.
Michael
on it,
Bay.
Oh my god. What a movie that would be. Oh,
There's explosions in the twisters.
and what's really cool is the way that Michael Bay does it. He would film it first without any thought of where the action is going, and then they would like have to somehow contrive the tornado to get into the frame somehow through magic. And
They'd be like, "Oh my god, this twister is just on fire. This one's just lightning."
yeah, this is a twister made out of lightning. This one is made out of propane.
And it's going towards a hospital.
An orphanage hospital.
Orphanage. Yeah.
Benefit of the doubt. Will there be like a hurricane and
That's
like
not-
a tsunami?
Huh.
Oh, this one's it's got sharks in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
Sharknado.
Sharknado.
Yes. Yep. There. All right, they're gonna have to tread lightly then. If it was like a hurricane of tornadoes, I think that would
Of
work too.
tornadoes?
Yeah, a hurricane of tornadoes. It's just like they just spawn like in a grid.
Okay.
And they just kind of go everywhere. Like someone's using a world editor. It's like deploy tornado, deploy. What if they had? Okay, hang on. $1 million idea. What if they had a tornado, but it was made out of combos? Not combos. What's
Yeah?
the corn funnel snack?
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. You know what I'm talking
It's
about.
like checks.
No, not Czech.
No,
They're
bugles.
Bugles,
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm.
Because you put them on your fingers and then you're a witch. That's what you did when you were a kid.
So you have Michael Bay coming out, and he's got bugles on all of his fingers, and they're the onion, like the sour cream and onion ones, so it's like really hard to get the flavor off. And he's like summoning tornadoes with bugles, and then it's a tornado made out of bugles, and it's just like it's ripping through, like everything, because it's not just wind. It's a wind of bugles snacks. Trademark,
Delicious.
registered, unless
What a
it
way
goes
to get a sponsorship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking about in that scene in the first movie where that disc comes down and hits that guy in the forehead, but it's a
God, I
bugle
forgot
and
about
it
that.
lands in his mouth. It's like that is so delicious. I love corn-based snacks.
Great.
So it's being directed by Lee. There's some big names on here. It's being directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who did Minari recently.
Oh,
So like, Academy Award nominated
Yes.
director here. And it's being written by Mark L. Smith, who wrote The Revenant, which was the Bear Leonardo DiCaprio
Wow.
movie. So
two very serious films going into twisters.
into Twisters. Exactly.
Z.
The name just
Z.
inspires like a restaurant.
With a Z.
It's being said in 1999. It's, yo, bro, we gotta watch The
Oh.
Matrix, and we're in Kansas. But what's gonna happen between here and there? Twist.
Remember the 90s?
Yeah, exactly.
Remember them?
Man, my
When
favorite
this movie
movies-
was relevant?
My favorite movie is Fight Club. There's no way this
Oh,
is gonna be better
yeah.
than that. Yeah. That's pretty great.
This is a very specific kind of individual that you're describing here.
Well,
I know, right?
Okay, if it's set in 1999, they could do like you could have the hoity-toity, and this is pre-vape, so they still have like cigarettes,
Okay.
I guess. But they'd be
Probably.
like, no, my favorite movie is being John Malkovich. That's where I'm. That's the scene. That is the layer that I'm at. I love Charlie Kaufman.
What kind of cameos do you think are going to be in this?
So not Philip Seymour Hoffman, unfortunately.
Oh, Yeah.
Yeah, that's a heckin' bummer. Or Bill Paxton, because he's gone
Wow.
too.
Yeah. I don't think you've mentioned who's in it yet.
No, because there's no one in it. Yeah.
Oh.
Even the AV Club
The
article that
Twisters.
the
That's it.
special ILM is going to be
Hmm.
the big celebrity get on this one to the budget of a lot. They were wondering, they were speculating like, hey, maybe Helen Hunt comes back because she was one of the co-protagonists.
But it's been 30 years. Not quite. 99. It's been 20
Yeah,
years.
26th year. It's well, I guess it's a 20. So it'll be like almost
But if it
28
takes
years.
place in 99 and you're using somebody who has aged through 2022,
Yes. So
I don't know. They've got to pull somebody new. I bet they pull a Stranger Things kid or something.
actually that's a pretty good idea because they did that with Ghostbusters, which I haven't seen the new
Oh
one.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they bring back Carrie Elwes because he died a horrific death in that first one. And that's the 2022 thing to do is bring back people that were clearly dead. Like obviously completely no
or just
doubt.
Harrison Ford. Just bring him back.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. Just bring
He
him
wasn't
back.
even the first one, so that'd be better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I've got this really good tornado tracking thing. You kids can't bother me. You can't track these twisters like I can. I'm here for a paycheck and I'm earning it. I'm really earning it. So, and he would totally do it. Oh, we didn't get to it last time, but that Indiana Jones trailer, from that looks great. Am I wrong? It looks great.
Well,
I didn't see it.
What?
well, okay. I try not to get my hopes up. Let's be real, since this Shia LaBeouf one, 15 years ago.
Yes.
But that's not even my issue. Why
What's
in
your
the year
issue?
2022 are we having love interests that are 50 years in age apart? Why? Phoebe Waller-Bridges, I think is her name, who's in
I thought she was the goddaughter.
Is she? I thought she was the love interest.
No, I don't think that's Harrison Ford's love interest.
Okay.
I think that's a little too.
I sincerely hope you're right because that was not my read on the trailer.
Yeah.
I must have missed a line. I must have.
I think that's how they're structuring it because that is too much. That is too much.
It's typical Hollywood though.
It is.
Maybe it just automatically populated in my head.
Yeah.
I'm just used to it at this point.
And who what about the lady at the end of Last Crusade, the Nazi woman? They could bring her back because that's such a 2022 thing to do, is just bring her back and she's the love interest again. I think that'd
be fine.
I think that's real. All right. Well, that's the news I had. Let's go to this. All right, here we go. You're not going to see this one, but you're going to hear it afterward.
Are we?
No. All right, we're back with the. I don't know why I got to the start of it's been a day. It's been a week. It's been a week. It's been a month. It's been a year. We're talking about Andor.
What a year it was.
What a year it was. This is the last episode of the year, actually. This is lucky number 7. This is exciting. We're going to talk about Andor. And since Kelly's seen 3 episodes, we're going to go as far as he's gotten. Because now you're totally pumped up having seen those first 3 episodes to get to the 6th episode. And then once you get to the 6th episode, you're like, oh, heck, I got to go to the 12th now because it's just going to go from there. So you got to meet Luthen and you got to meet everyone, and it was a big old thing. So tell me what you think about Andor.
I like it. I mean, it's really different. It doesn't feel like Star Wars at all. Like it feels very like Blade Runner-esque, especially like the first opening of that show. Like, it felt like Blade Runner, and I mean, I like it. I think it's like really interesting, trying to like getting Andor's backstory and everything like that, and like his childhood backstory, and then the backstory of Andor, where we know him from with Rogue One kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, and then like how the corporate security, like I thought that was really interesting. The guy who plays like the officer,
The overachiever dude.
yes,
Yeah.
like it's great seeing his face like whenever he realized like, oh, I messed up.
He messed up in a big, and he's like he's got values. He's just
Mhm.
doing what he thinks is right. He is the guy who's ratting out his classmates who've been cheating on math tests and stuff like
Right.
that. So when his supervisor's like, these two guys weren't murdered, it was, or they were, but it was under stuff that they caused. Let's not get too deep into this. We're not going to worry about it. I'm on vacation. I don't want to mess with it.
Well, no, he wasn't on vacation, right? He went to go
He went to
report.
see.
Yeah, wasn't he reporting like what was going on? But he didn't want to report anything bad.
Yeah, he didn't want to import anything bad to the
Yeah,
Imperials because they was still under corporate control. Morlana 1, I
yeah.
think it was, is the planet that they're on. So the show opens up in Andor, and spoilers for these first 3 episodes. You should watch them all. Uh, Andor is being tracked by these dudes from a bar because he's looking for his sister, and he straight up, they try to hold him up, and he takes them down, John Woo style. And it's, it just becomes a thread. There are so many threads in this series. It is incredible. Just how much it starts and just builds and builds and builds. And then here's this other one. It starts and builds and builds and builds and starts and builds and builds and builds. And it's just go. And so every couple episodes, there's just like punctuation about what's going on in that show. And you're right. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. We talked months ago about Rogue One, and this is from Tony Gilroy and his brother Don, if I remember, Don or Doug, I can't remember offhand. They co-wrote. They also brought Bo Willimon, who was the creator of House of Cards. He writes a lot of the episodes in the back half of the season, which is like, that's pedigree writing right there. That's nuts. So this is from Tony Gilroy. He did some he did a draft write up and then like directed some bits of Rogue One when they were fixing it, because Rogue One famously had a lot of production issues and they had to reshoot some stuff to make it work. So this is all original stuff from Tony Gilroy. And I was listening to Mark Maron, because Mark Maron's a big what's his face, a big fan of one of his
Star
movies,
Wars.
George Clooney movies. I'm trying to remember, but he's a big fan of that. And he was talking about how Tony Gilroy had this bit after Rogue One, and this was 2017, 2018, yeah, 2017. He's like, he had this entire idea with how Andor's story would come about, and back then Disney's like, no, that's too expensive. And then a couple years ago, they came back and said, let's do it your way. Because now that the budgets have come up and streaming has gotten so big, they decided to let him do that. This is only 2 seasons. I believe they just wrapped up filming, or they're filming the second season right now, and it'll be out like next year, or 2024. They have so much post that they have to do on there. But it's basically the first season is the first year of Andor's backstory, and then the second season will be like the 4 years between then and then the events of Rogue One, which is right before A New Hope. And it is so smart, and it is so gritty. Victoria, what do you think?
So I was one of the bigger skeptics of Andor.
Uh-huh.
I love Star Wars. Star Wars is near and dear to my heart. I hated Rogue One. Hated it. I was so bored, and I just didn't understand why people cared.
I wish you were on that episode with us, where you could, because I did not like it
so that I could have trashed it.
we can do a special
so
edition.
much exactly. So much so I don't remember a thing about Rogue One. All I remember is the bad uncanny valley with Leia at the end. That is all I remember.
But not Tarkin. Tarkin was pretty creepy.
God. Was he? It probably was.
But
I
you don't
couldn't tell
remember it.
you. I don't
Yeah.
remember it. I don't remember any of this. And so Andor comes out. I've just seen Obi-Wan Kenobi, the show. That was literally just fan service, but garbage fan service. It wasn't even good. We've sat through all these terrible or mediocre Star Wars series. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of The Mandalorian either. I watched
Uh-huh.
the first season.
Uh-huh.
It was all right. It was all right. There's a lot better TV out there than The Mandalorian.
What?
I'll just put that out there.
There's
I
The
know.
Crown.
It
Downton Abbey.
there's a lot better medium TV shows in that genre.
Yeah.
Sorry. I know a lot of people are going to hate me and discredit me for that.
This is a show called
But-
Hot Takes and Streaming Breaks, so we're doing all right.
So I hate this. I hate all of this. And people are talking all these great things about Andor. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of sitting through it. I'm tired of being wildly disappointed, wanting to see things that would actually be fun. Like, give me a Jar Jar Binks backstory. Give me some of that. Like, give me something completely off the wall that I don't expect. The last thing I want is for people to be hyping up a show about a character I don't want, a character I don't like, that was set up with a movie I hated. This is the last thing I want.
Uh-huh.
I watched the first 1 or 2 episodes of Andor, and I thought, this is too dense. I'm going to have to take care of this another time. And then we started talking about how we wanted to talk about it on the show. Again, I was really, I don't know. I reached out to my friends on Facebook and wherever, said, what do you like about it? And it was the one response that said, this is Star Wars as if it wasn't even written in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Being in Star Wars doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with Star Wars. And honestly, that's what grabbed me. And I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
I love it. But you know what? They're right. This is a story about oppression and character growth and economics and political situations. It's not about who's got the bigger lightsaber, because we're all tired of seeing that. By we're all, I mean me. I'm tired of seeing that. I'm tired of seeing it. So when I see one X-Wing in an episode and that's about it, or someone just makes an offhand comment about a planet I've heard of, and that's it, honestly, that's what I want. Show me something that's actually good, that they thought about an actual story and they weren't just Star Wars. Oh my God, Star Wars. We've all bought the toys. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old. But you know what? Andor got me. Andor finally got me at episode 3. So I really hope that Kelly sticks with it, because after episode 3 is where I started to see what everyone was talking about, because it's incredibly dense at the beginning. There are so many plot lines going on, and especially if you're someone like me that didn't remember a thing about Rogue One besides when it took place, it's a jumbled mess, or that's how it feels.
Mhm.
But once you get to episode 3, suddenly all of these plot lines merge together and you see where the show is heading, and it clicks. Absolutely. Once we start getting in some other characters, get some more backstory going, honestly, it's a pretty great show. It is surprisingly good. I hope that this is where Star Wars continues to go. Show me a Star Wars horror movie. Show me a Star Wars that's straight up comedy. Go completely off base, because that's what we need now.
Yeah.
I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over.
I think they tried doing the comedy thing with Solo, and then they kicked Miller and Lord off of there, like, lickety split. So that was just fun. And then I did read, what was it, like Death Troopers, which was that novel about zombies essentially in Star Wars. So there's some.
Here's the other thing that bothers me. Okay, this is going to be part of our hot takes.
Oh, here we go.
Star Wars is a very explicit metaphor, just like X-Men is a very specific metaphor. Every time we start to talk about stormtroopers like they're these fun-loving guys, I have a really hard time with. You better show me something great, because who their metaphor is are the worst people in history.
Yeah.
So you need to be watching what you're doing with them. And honestly, it makes me really uncomfortable that they're making them into zombies.
Yes.
That's what bothers me about it.
Well, that book is technically not canon anymore because it was a pre-Disney. I agree. I agree. Yeah, it was fine. And as you saw through episode 6 with like Deidre Miro and Portagaz and all those guys, like you see what exactly that force is, that force of evil.
Yes.
Is. And
I think it supports the metaphor of the Star Wars universe by showing that there's a lot of nuance in all of these situations. It doesn't mean that the bad guys aren't bad. The bad guys are still bad. But the bad guys are bad with nuance. And I think that's what I'm loving to see.
They have a motivation. They're out to stomp out the people who are doing bad. And it's really cool that they have like passing references to the Emperor and stuff like that without having to bring in the Emperor. You mentioned Obi-Wan, and I'd seen that before. I enjoyed it, Obi-Wan Kenobi, for what it was, but after seeing this, it looks like and then the other thing, I had not seen Mandalorian before watching this, so I went and watched the pilot for Mandalorian, and of course I'd seen Obi-Wan, and both of those shows compared to Andor, they looked like the filler movie scenes, like when you're at Universal Studios and you're like, this is how we move you from place to place before we shuffle you into the next queue. That's the quality. It looks like video game graphics. It looks so cheap.
It feels intentionally poor quality, which is such a shame when you're bringing back people like Hayden Christensen that your opinion on his acting or whatever was a great nostalgia moment to grab in on people, but then they made a not so great series about it, and nostalgia only gets you so far.
And there was when people were complaining about the opening shot of Obi-Wan where it's like fake camera rocking in After Effects, and why are they still training when clearly all of this chaos is going on? Do they not have the Force to feel what's going on here? Did you see Obi-Wan, Kels?
No, not yet.
All right.
We're really convincing you to watch this show, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. So right after Andor, you got to watch this. But you had seen Mandalorian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure in a vacuum that show was just fine. But now that Andor's out, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I liked the Mandalorian. I liked Mando just as a character. That was my big thing. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't like about it, or that was just okay. But I just like Mando. I like his character.
Yeah, you like Pedro Pascal.
Well, I've seen him in other things, but I thought he did good as Mando. Like it feels different than seeing him in other things, right?
Yeah.
Like whenever you see him as an actor and doing his acting stuff versus this, where he's very quiet and like kind of stoic and just gets things done or doesn't get things done, whatever it is, right? Whatever's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember between Boba Fett and I guess Mando, the big Mandalorian dude was like Canderous from Night Sealed Republic. I think that's the one that everyone had kind of an attachment to. And I want to come back to your point about Jedis and lightsabers too, Vic, is that my favorite Star Wars game has been Star Wars Dark Forces, which was a game, it was not quite a ripoff of Doom, but it was in that era, because they added like missions and narratives and cutscenes and stuff like that, but there was no lightsabers. There was no lightsabers at all. And I loved it because it was like gritty and industrial, and this is a side of Star Wars that we haven't seen. And then in Jedi Knight, which was Dark Forces 2, they're like, all right, now you get to be a Jedi. Here you go. You're a Jedi now. Lightsabers and force powers and all that stuff. And I hated it. So in Andor, when there was no Jedi at all, and it's just like bureaucracy and the mundane, the banality of evil. I think there was a video essay about it. Just the banality of evil in this show. Like you said, they're not stomping on puppies or anything in here in that Star Wars way. They are just like they're gears in service of a greater cause, and the cause just happens to be this really evil Sith Lord. So,
Well, and maybe that's why it's so easy for me to compare it to Obi-Wan Kenobi, because the show is because that show takes place right after the prequels that everyone pretty consensually as a community hated for a long time. oh, nobody cares about the politics of Star Wars. That was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Andor has gone to show the politics of Star Wars can actually be kind of cool and interesting if it's written well, if we're taking the time, if we're getting rid of the Jedi Star Wars magic, and we talk about people's stories. We can care about the politics of Star Wars because it's just the politics of anywhere else. You know, we care about those kinds of things as people, especially as grown-ups. Should you be putting that in your kids' movie, Star Wars Episode 1? Probably not. Should you be putting it in Andor that's focused for a more mature audience? Then yes, absolutely. Why not? So I think now we're finally seeing, I hope, kind of the growth of that franchise to a place where we know when we're targeting children, we know when we're targeting adults, and those can have overlap, but they don't have to. You don't have to throw a Baby Yoda in a show to kind of have a level playing ground. You can, you don't have to.
You're going to sell a lot of toys.
You're going to sell a lot of toys.
Like,
my
no one's going to buy...
knows Baby Yoda is.
Like, I would buy a Deidre Miro figurine, but like that's not the same as a Baby Yoda.
Exactly.
Or a Grogu, I guess. And the thing that in reading what other people have thought about the series as well, is that Star Wars is so big that you can have this serious drama, and but you can also have more fun stuff, because Star Wars has always been known for its approachability, and I think that's why Andor has resonated so well. Is it's providing a depth that really hasn't been there, because like maybe it would scare people off, and I think with how many people liked Rogue One, however not great it was, people wanted more in that vein, but maybe didn't know how to ask for it, or they didn't know how to make it. Until now, because I don't think this is not a series that could have come out of George Lucas. I don't think he had it in him to do it there. I think he needed a kind of Kathleen Kennedy to stand back and be like, you guys figure this out. I'm gonna be rich, or what have you.
Well, sci-fi has always been a conduit for telling these bigger historical stories forever.
Yeah.
We have been using sci-fi as a playing field for these stories. Always, always, always. We just haven't used it in the Star Wars template yet, until Andor. Which is frustrating to me as a fan of Star Wars. It's been around for how many decades now, and we're just now nailing that. To me, is frustrating. At the same time, it gives me hope that maybe future Star Wars might be able to tell the difference between, you know, what's good, what's family friendly, what's child friendly, what's all of these different things, now that we've kind of been through the woods a little bit.
Yeah, and and it provides a lot of depth to things. It provides, like you were mentioning earlier, nuance and stuff. Like the rebellion at this point is not just, you know, a group of people working together with the same symbol on their X-Wings or fighters, and that is just this group of people who happen to be on the same side, like the enemy of your enemy kind of thing. And Kels, you'll kind of see that as you go along, which you should absolutely truck through this thing, because it's incredible. But
I only started last night, and I got through 3 episodes. So.
Well,
3 episodes in one night is pretty good.
It is.
Yeah,
really...
so I'm gonna keep watching. I got hooked.
Yeah, you got. Yeah, it's incredible. But you haven't even gotten to the Mon Mothma stuff, where when she starts cutting in there, and she is the politician. I mean, you saw
the specific prequels references.
Yeah. You saw Luthen, where he was like putting on his wig, and he was like, ha ha ha, like practicing his fancy laugh, because he's two totally different people, and that becomes a thing through the series. It's nuts. But the nuance of what the rebellion is at this point, and having to move money around and things like that to make it happen, is just incredible. And you see that pay off huge in like episode 6, and then as it goes on from there, it's like, whew. Highly recommend.
So, yes, and a lot of people have been talking about the kind of monumentous episode 6, and I won't spoil it for Kelly, but what I will say is it is appropriately large. I always get skeptical when people are saying, "Oh, just wait for episode blank, then you'll get it, then you'll put it all together."
Yeah.
That's not, it is, but it's not what episode 6 is about. It is the culmination of a lot of other things that have been going on, sure. But it's also appropriate in the story. And I'm actually rather impressed by how they ramped up instead of just, bam, here's a new episode that's got a lot in it. It feels well-deserved by episode 6.
Yeah, Tony came out and said, because, obviously people are like, oh, the first couple episodes are really slow and boring and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and Tony Gilroy said, essentially, you can't write checks if there's nothing in your bank. So it's spending those first couple episodes spinning up so many things to get you interested, because then when it starts setting those arcs off, completing those arcs to set new ones off, it's totally cool. It just really builds from there. So yeah, we'll have to circle back once you've hit 6, or maybe we've just finished them all. I've watched them all. I don't. I'll ask you guys. I don't know how I feel about weekly releases versus them dumping them all at once. And I'm not saying one versus the other, but having to wait it's going to be another 3 weeks before I see an episode or a new episode or whatever. I'm going to have to wait till Thursday or something. I don't know if I'm used to that yet again, after Netflix spoiled me.
After working in TV for about a decade, I will say that I miss it. I really miss being able to say on Thursday nights I watch blank. And I think people are starting to remember that maybe a little bit, that not only do you create a little mini event for yourself, which is, exciting in its own little way.
Right.
But there is so much more content than when we used to do that I feel like if I have a show that dumps it all on me, when am I ever going to watch this? I have 14 other shows in my queue. I'm glad that I'm able to pace myself.
Right.
Personally.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll let you have the last word. Was there anything else that we have not touched on that we want to get to before we get into the new year? Fantastic. Glad.
6035.
6035. Yeah, join us on 6035media.org. We're launching a new website. We're launching a new publication, 6035, that you'll be able to pick up most of your favorite places. The distribution's changed a bit, of course, over the past couple weeks. We've got a new, again, it's a whole new thing. All our publications are coming together. We're really excited about it. And Hot Takes is going to continue, of course, unabated. Watching Andor and Avatar 2. We'll sneak Avatar 2 in there somewhere. Kelly's giving me the...
Hey, it's part of my plans for tomorrow. So.
All right. We'll get to that as well. That and Andor. Avatandor. I love it. Well, thank you guys for joining me. And for those listening or watching at home, be sure to like and subscribe and all that fun social media stuff. You know what it is. Like and subscribe. And if you have a comment or question that you'd like us to answer or address on the air, send an email to podcasts@6035media.org, 60 spelled out, and put Hot Take somewhere in the subject line. Until next time, until next year, until we see you again, this has been Hot Takes and Stream Breaks. Take care.